Season 3. This is the episode in Game of Thrones that broke countless fans' hearts, and was also rated as the pinnacle of a TV series episode in human history. It's the Red Wedding that left Game of Thrones fans inconsolable. This bloody massacre led to the downfall of the Stark family. It also changed Arya's life, leading him on a path of vengeance ever since. Today, I wonder if you still have the courage to click on this episode. Robb brought the army from Beijing to Luanhe City. He had two purposes for this trip. The first was to be the best man for his uncle, to marry a girl from the Frey family. The second was to apologize to Lord Walder, to apologize for his previous breach of engagement. During the visit, Lord Walder exercised the right of hospitality, ordering his men to serve bread and salt to Robb and his companions. The right of hospitality is a tradition that has been upheld for thousands of years on the continent of Westeros. Once guests have accepted the bread and salt offered by their host, neither party may harm the other. Violators will not be tolerated by the old and new gods alike. As the Lord of the North, Robb expressed his apologies to Lord Frey for breaking the marriage pact, and explained that he had fallen for another woman. Faced with such dishonor, Lord Walder could do nothing but swallow his pride. As Robb had anticipated that the Freys wouldn't dare retaliate, the Frey family wouldn't dare to make a move. At night, Old Walder, with the support of the bride, slowly entered the hall. Robb's uncle was helpless, since he had already seen Old Walder's ugly daughters during the day. He held no hope for his own bride either. However, when Old Walder lifted the veil, he was stunned. The bride was gentle and beautiful, against everyone's expectations. Edmund's previous displeasure vanished in this moment. Following that, amidst the blessings of all, the couple began to recite their vows. Robert was grateful for the smooth alliance. He who cherished free love could not foresee the disaster he was about to bring upon his family. The feast began soon. Amidst the laughter and cheer of everyone, Old Walder hid it well, making the battle-hardened northern generals forget the cruel war. Catelyn once lay awake at night because Robb broke a marriage pact, but now, he finally showed a long-missed smile. Looking at her son, Catelyn let go of all her guard. Her husband Ned died tragically. Her eldest daughter was held hostage by Cersei in King's Landing. Her second daughter's whereabouts unknown. Now she pinned the Stark's hopes of rising on Robb. At this moment, a soldier closed the doors of the hall. The previously cheerful wedding march abruptly stopped, and suddenly turned into the Rains of Castamere. At the same time, Arya also arrived at Riverrun, wandering ever since her father's death. On her way, Arya encountered the Hound and they joined forces to see her family. She has traveled a long distance to get here. However, the guards stopped them on the pretext that the wedding was over. When the Hound turned around, he realized Arya had disappeared. Inside Riverrun, Old Walder raised his wine cup. Catelyn looked puzzled, not understanding why such sad music was playing at the wedding. When Catelyn saw that eerie smile on Roose Bolton's face, she was terrified. She fearfully pulled back Roose Bolton's sleeve. It was chain mail. Fear struck instantly, but it was all too late. Robb was still in a state of shock. A cold dagger had already been plunged into his wife's belly. Immediately after, countless arrows came flying. The slaughter by the Freys had begun. In an instant, the lively wedding scene turned into a hell on earth. The unprepared northern lords were slaughtered one by one. Lord Walder watched everything with glee. He was immensely satisfied with his handiwork. Robb struggled to crawl towards his wife lying in a pool of blood. This was the price he paid for pursuing true love, resulting in the loss of the entire North and his family. Perhaps at this moment, he had regrets. Catelyn, amidst the chaos, seized one of Old Walder's wives, hoping to use her to bargain for Robb's life. Lord Walder, enough. I beg you, he is my son. My first son. Let him go. I swear we will forget. I swear by the old gods and the new, we will never seek revenge. But Old Walder didn't want to listen at all, because Catelyn had made him a promise here that Robb would marry one of his daughters, and let Robb leave. Robb stood up. I beg you. Seeing Robb still had no reaction, Catelyn wanted to use Old Walder's wife as a bargaining chip, and pleaded with the honor of House Tully and Stark to let Robb go. However, Old Walder calmly said, I'll find another one. Mother. The Lannisters send their regards. This is the greatest tragedy in Game of Thrones. Referred to by countless people as the Red Wedding, Old Master Martin destroyed the most beautiful things in the most brutal way for us. 3,500 unarmed soldiers of the North were lost at Riverrun. Some say the cause of this tragedy was entirely due to Robb. Actually, he only played a part. The real mastermind behind the scenes is Tywin Lannister. When it comes to scheming, the Starks are outmatched by 10 streets. To prove his loyalty, Old Walder not only killed Robb, but also sewed a direwolf's head onto his body, and paraded it around. And this scene was also witnessed by Arya, who had arrived. He had imagined countless times the scene of reuniting with his family, but now what he saw was the separation of life and death. This scene of hell on earth was deeply embedded in Arya's heart, making him more determined on his path to strength. Some say the Red Wedding was tragic, but Arya's revenge was equally satisfying. Yes. When he sets foot on the land of Luanhe City again, it will be a king's return. When someone asks what happened, just say the North never forgets. Tell them winter has come for House Frey. As a Game of Thrones fan, I think the scene of Arya reuniting with the Hound, you surely remember vividly. After the Red Wedding, two homeless people sharing the same fate, the Hound wanted to leave this sorrowful place with Arya as soon as possible. However, several soldiers from Riverrun caught Arya's attention. Listening to them openly discuss her deceased relatives, she jumped off the horse. The soldier kept on describing how he placed the head of the Ice Wolf on Robb's body, until Arya approached from behind. Upon this sudden appearance, the soldier certainly wasn't pleased, but Arya just wanted to trade money for some food. After saying this, she took out the coin Jaqen had given her. Sorry. As the soldier bent down to pick up the coin, the bloodline of Arya Stark revealed itself. This was her first kill. The sudden turn of events caught the others off guard. By the time they reacted, the Hound had already stepped in front of Arya. Within a few exchanges, the remaining people were easily taken care of by the Hound. Although the Hound was angry about her actions, he still warned Arya to inform him beforehand if she plans to do something similar next time. Looking at the coin in his hand, he had never felt such a desire to obtain great power as he did today. Now, the Hound was no longer a kidnapper, but he still needs to use the identity of a kidnapper to take Arya to her aunt's place at the Eyrie in exchange for ransom. That way, the Hound can stay and continue to protect her. Soon after, the two arrive outside an inn, but hesitate to go in, because there are 5 horses, meaning there are 5 men. Currently, the Hound is starving. If a situation arises where we can't fight, 2 people walk out of the tavern. Arya immediately recognizes the shorter one as the one who had captured her and taken her to Harrenhal, and who had taken her, Needle. The Hound mocks the name of Arya's weapon, only to realize that she's already gone. Needle was the gift Jon Snow gave her when they parted. Arya has always treasured it. Now seeing it again, of course she wants to take it back. The Hound, unaware of the situation in the tavern, doesn't want Arya to take the risk. But while they were arguing, a soldier suddenly opened the door. Since they've been discovered, the Hound took the opportunity to walk into the tavern. However, as soon as they sat down, they were immediately recognized by the bald man. Isn't that the Hound? The bald man was a soldier under Joffrey. He had seen the Hound in King's Landing. Now that Stannis had been defeated at Blackwater River, they were using it as an excuse to act under the King's banner, ravaging and pillaging all the way. He then even suggested that the Hound join his team to continue serving Joffrey back in King's Landing. To hell with the King. The Hound rejected his kindness in the most direct way. Perhaps the Hound might have considered it in the past, but now his life is no longer as lonely as it used to be, because there are people around him who need protection. Yet, the bald man still relentlessly pursued them. Taking advantage of his numerical superiority, he set his sights on the young girl. The Hound spent the first half of his life amidst killing. He naturally wouldn't be intimidated by such small fries challenging him, especially since they threatened the person he had kidnapped. The Hound struck first, gaining the upper hand. Although his combat strength was still formidable, due to not eating for several days, his physical strength began to wane. At the critical moment, Arya bought the Hound some time, seizing the opportunity to subdue one man, and then ambushed the bald man, pulling out the sewing needle from his waist. What's wrong with your leg, boy? Can you walk, or do I need to carry you? This sentence was once said by the bald man on the night of the attack on Yulong to Arya's friend. Perhaps he has long forgotten, because he has killed too many innocents. But Arya never forgot, and she still remembers when he took the sewing needle. For what I said to myself, maybe I'll use it to pick my teeth. A nice little sword. Maybe I can use it to pick my teeth. At this moment he finally remembered the person in front of him, but Arya didn't give the bald man a chance to speak. After dealing with everyone, the Hound finally had a full meal. Arya finally got a horse of her own, even though she was protected by the Hound, and cursed him to die every day. When they actually encountered enemies, they still worked together seamlessly. At night, Arya continued reciting her kill list. It was the first time the Hound heard those familiar names, but Arya's list had grown by 2 more names, Beric Dondarrion and the Red Woman. The reason he put these 2 on his own kill list is because Beric sold Gendry to the Red Woman. At that time, Arya hated them both. It was for this reason that he escaped the Brotherhood, only to be captured by the Hound. About Arya's boring list, the Hound was not interested at all. He urged her to finish reading quickly, but when the Hound heard the last name, he was stunned. The Hound. The Hound was once the person Arya hated most. His name was always at the top of the list, but as they spent time together, unknowingly, he put the Hound last. In both Arya and the Hound's characters, there is a kind of nonconformist rebellion. They are dashing and unruly, and they detest evil as if it's a personal enemy, but at their core, they both possess integrity and kindness. In order to teach Arya the cruel rules of survival, the Hound wounded the old man who had hosted them, and took all his money. You are the worst scoundrel in the 7 kingdoms. There are far worse than me. I just understand the law of survival. How many more Starks have to die before you understand? Perhaps what the Hound does is cruel, but it's a reality. Nowadays, with wars everywhere, even he can't be sure of his next dawn, let alone those who can't protect themselves. Like the old man before us, he was robbed clean by bandits, and his life has reached its end. Although he knows there's no hope left to live, he still habitually holds on. The Hound mercifully ended the old man's suffering while giving him water. Then he showed Arya where the heart is. It was a moment of relaxation for both of them. The Hound was caught off guard. Arya learned quickly. She shot another man with an arrow. Though they dealt with the 2 men, the Hound was wounded in the process. Arya was afraid the wound would fester, and wanted to use fire to treat it, but she was strongly opposed by the Hound. She was so scared she froze. Unexpectedly, the cold-hearted Hound was so afraid of fire. Perhaps not wanting to upset the well-meaning Arya, the Hound spoke for the first time about the story he kept in his heart. You said your brother gave you that sword. You said your brother gave you that sword. But my brother burned my face. He pressed my face into a burning brazier, as if it were a juicy piece of mutton. The reason he pressed him into the brazier was simply because he played with brothers, the mountain's toy. But what terrified the Hound the most was our father's favoritism. He believed that everything the Mountain did to the Hound was justified, and claimed externally that it was because the Hound's bedding caught fire. In the Game of Thrones, many people disguise kindness to achieve malicious goals, and many others disguise malice to hide their inner kindness, and the Hound is the latter. He may seem tough on the outside, but he also has a soft side within. Even though Arya curses him every day, she still carefully tends to the Hound's wounds. They are like a constantly worried old father and an ungrown child, warming each other's hearts. And thus ends their life of wandering. However, the guard told her that her Aunt Lisa had already passed away. One by one, her loved ones were leaving. One piece of bad news after another was breaking down her psychological defenses. Not knowing what to do, she burst into loud laughter. Just 3 days ago, Littlefinger personally pushed Lisa through the moon door. Actually, her aunt's death was a good thing for her. Arya. Now Sansa is with Littlefinger at the Eyrie. If Arya had also fallen into Littlefinger's hands, her fate would have been worse than Sansa's. After the purple wedding, Littlefinger whisked Sansa away from King's Landing, ostensibly saving her life and getting her away from Cersei. In fact, Littlefinger wanted to use Sansa's identity in the north to pave the way for realizing his ambitions in the future. This was evident when he later married Sansa to Ramsay Bolton. This proved his intent. Shortly after the two arrived in the Vale, Littlefinger married the love-struck Lisa. Therefore, he also became the husband of the Lady of the Eyrie, and naturally subdued the puppet, Robin Arryn. As a result, Lisa was no longer of use. So Littlefinger deliberately arranged an encounter, and the scene of him kissing Sansa was witnessed. As expected, Lisa took out Littlefinger's betrayal on Sansa. In her youth, Lisa always lived in Catelyn's shadow. Not only because Catelyn was more beautiful, but more importantly, the man Lisa loved was infatuated with Catelyn, and that man was the Tully family's ward, Littlefinger. Lisa couldn't believe that her sister had stolen the man she loved, and now her sister was dead. Could the same tragedy really befall her daughter once again? Jealousy clouded Lisa's mind. Without seeking the truth of the matter, she threatened to push Sansa through the moon door. At that moment, Littlefinger saw an opportunity, and stepped in to stop Lisa. She will never love you, just like her mother never did. I lied for you. I killed for you. Why did you bring him here? Why? The person Lisa was talking about was obviously Caitlin, and the lies and the murder Littlefinger committed. It was about Jon Arryn. The two of them conspired to kill him. Lisa wrote a letter to deceive Caitlin, telling her everything was the Lannisters' doing. And this led Ned to head south, which was followed by a series of Stark tragedies. Littlefinger swore to get Sansa out of the Vale. Only then did he calm Lisa down. I have loved only one woman in my whole life. I have loved only one. Only your sister. Lisa could never have imagined that she would die at the hands of the only man she loved, and Littlefinger used this to win Sansa's trust. While others in the Vale suspected Lisa's death, when it came to Littlefinger, Sansa stood up and lied for him, and revealed her true identity. My name is not Elaine, but Sansa Stark. For hiding Littlefinger's secrets, Royce was extremely angry, but Sansa explained her reasons for not revealing her identity. It was Littlefinger protecting her, because Cersei's influence is widespread. Perhaps even here isn't safe. Then he tearfully described the grievances suffered in King's Landing, and how Littlefinger helped and cared for him. Finally, Sansa got to the point. Lisa jumped because of mental issues. If Sansa were just an ordinary maid, these words would certainly be doubted. But Ned is renowned as the embodiment of justice, and Sansa is his eldest daughter. What she says naturally carries weight. Additionally, the Tullys and the Starks are allies, with Sansa testifying. These people are utterly convinced. And just like that, Littlefinger not only diffused the crisis, but also gained the approval of the Valley Elders. Sansa stepping in to help was something Littlefinger didn't anticipate. Why would you help me? If you were to be executed, what would become of me? Sansa is merely a pawn in Littlefinger's game. Falling in love with her is impossible. There might be some liking. After all, she is Caitlyn's daughter. Actually, when Joffrey died from poisoning, the moment Sansa chose to escape, Littlefinger had already cut off her retreat. If Sansa reveals the true reason for her aunt's death, with Littlefinger's notorious reputation, the Vale will definitely not let him off. And Sansa, relying on her father's connection, can live well in the Vale. But he fails to see Littlefinger's true purpose. He has already tied himself to the man before him. On the other hand, Brienne and Pod encounter Hot Pie at the Crossroads Inn. Thus, they learned the news about Arya. After some analysis, the two decided to head for the valley. On the way, 10 kilometers from the Eyrie, they encountered Arya returning. Since they had never seen each other before, Brienne didn't realize that the young girl before her was Arya, until the Hound appeared and was recognized by Podrick. Brienne then realized she was the person she was looking for. You are Arya Stark. Brienne's purpose here was to protect Arya, because she had sworn an oath to Caitlyn. Although Caitlyn died at the Red Wedding, she has not forgotten her mission. For this southerner who appeared out of nowhere, Arya did not trust him. The Lannister weapon at Brienne's waist was immediately recognized by the Hound. This made Arya even more certain of the Hound's suspicion that the person before them had been bought, sent by the Lannisters to kill him. Actually, the weapon at Brienne's waist, it was indeed a gift from James, and it is made of the only remaining Valyrian steel. It was forged from Ned's ice. After it was melted down, split into two, Tywin gave one of them to Joffrey as a wedding gift. After Joffrey used it to chop the book given by the imp, he named it Widow's Wail. The other sword was given to Jaime by Tywin, but Jaime passed the sword to Brienne, and entrusted her to protect the Stark daughters. In the end, Brienne named it Oathkeeper. Arya knows nothing about this. Naturally, the Hound doesn't believe it either, but Brienne insists on taking Arya and protecting her. Her aunt from the area is dead, her mother is dead, her father's dead, her brother's also dead. Winterfell is a pile of rubble. Nowhere is safe. You foolish woman, you don't even understand that. How can you protect her? So tell me. Are you protecting her? Yes, I'm protecting her. Neither of them made any compromise. For the Hound, the appearance of Brienne was like someone coming to fight for Arya's custody. Even though he was starving and severely injured, he still chose to fight to the death. In the end, he was defeated by Brienne. She knocked him down the hillside. It was then that Brienne realized Arya had already vanished. The Hound lay dying at the bottom of the hillside, but he still waited for Arya. Between Brienne and the Hound, Arya preferred to follow him. This brought immense comfort to the dying Hound, but he hoped Arya would catch up with Brienne, because she no longer has the ability to protect Arya. Remember where the heart is? I'm ready. Once she was the one who wanted to kill the Hound the most, but now Arya can't bring herself to do it. Her hatred for him gradually faded during their journey together. Even though the Hound tried to provoke her with the murder of Micah, seeing Arya remain unmoved, the Hound went from being angry to pleading. Do it. Do it. Arya didn't make a move. Instead, she took the money from the Hound. Through all the hardships, the Hound witnessed Arya's growth. An important part of the process. They could no longer see each other as enemies. The Hound miraculously survived in the end. When the two met again, it was the last night of the battle against the White Walkers. On the way to King's Landing, Arya caught up with the Hound. This scene was also their last time riding together on screen. They share the same destination and similar goals. The Hound seeks to settle scores with the Mountain. Arya wants to cross Cersei off her hit list. If I get hurt, will you leave me to die again? Maybe. A simple phrase, yet filled with the sentiment of a long-awaited reunion. Finally, the two meet. Inside the soon-to-collapse Red Keep, the Hound stopped Arya, and prevented her from assassinating Cersei. This was the last time the Hound protected the little bird before him. If you come with me, you'll die here. Arya knew this was their farewell. She condensed all her gratitude for the Hound into her final words. Sandor. Thank you. If Sansa made him experience love, then Arya made the Hound truly feel family affection. He will always remember the second princess of House Stark before she became a faceless man. 3rd Lee Wan.